Did you know you can save money with the McDonald's app every single day? Yeah, I was surprised too. Deals every day right at your fingertips. I love a good deal, but the McDonald's app takes gaming the system to a whole new level. Just the other day, I treated myself to a 10-piece chicken nugget for only $1. Yeah, you heard that right. Just $1. All you have to do is order in the app. And get this, you can grab that deal once a week through December 2nd. The first time I discovered the deals in the app, I was honestly shook. I had to tell my whole group chat about it, and now we're always comparing who got the best app deal of the week. Plus, ordering ahead, total game changer, especially when I need a quick lunch or a treat after a long day. So why wait? Save money every day with the McDonald's app. Download it, get those deals, and treat yourself. You deserve it. Valid through December 2nd, 2024 at participating McDonald's. Offer valid one time per week. Excludes delivery. You must opt into rewards. So go check out McDonald's deals.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling Art with Chris Things.
Do the hammerlock. I do the hammerlock. Do the hammerlock, you turkey necks. Yeah, do the hammerlock.
Hi, pals. Welcome to another edition of Wrestling Art with Chris Things. This is the podcast where I sometimes talk to other wrestling artists, I sometimes talk about my own art, and oftentimes talk about the match of the week with a revolving guest list of different people who I can rave about how bloody great the match was. So this week is a fun one. I've got a fun little thing set up for you guys. I hope you enjoy. So what happened? I went on a trip to Vietnam with my dad, took a little bit of a break from this podcast thing, got back and we had our double episode last week to cap off the last two and rounded out the first full year of the match of the week series, the illustration series. And then now I'm like, dude, I'm 6 behind. What am I going to do? So I had this idea. Why don't I do some lightning rounds where we have a close to hard 10-minute time limit on each match. I can have a different person on to talk about each match, a different friend, whoever I can wrangle in here to talk about it. And we can have an episode where we talk about 6 matches of the week, but everyone has to have a hard 10-minute time limit. I think there's a fun concept. I hope you guys do as well. I hope the scheduling element of it works out. We'll see how we go. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun deal. And then we'll be all caught up on the match of the week, and then we'll be able to get back to a regular schedule. Might even be able to have some more talented wrestling artists out there on the show as well, back again. But I'm happy to be back with you. Last week I spoke about it being a little bit weird after a bit of a break from the podcast, coming back to it. I'm feeling a little bit back in the zone now. So hopefully that's good. Hopefully you guys, I will apologize for the sound levels being a bit off last week. Another sort of probably leftover bit of me being a bit out of the habit. But hopefully they're sounding a little bit better to you guys today. This week has been pretty bloody nuts, as everyone has. I don't want to be on here just bragging about how busy I am. But I think part of this is talking about my life, talking about trying to be a wrestling artist as a full-time job. So that's part of it. We had the wrestling club the other week that I spoke about being so much fun. We have had the Lucha Fantastica events, these Australian Mexican wrestling shows, a tribute to the wonderful world of Lucha Libre for Australians that I come along and have my art table at and sort of get to enjoy the fiesta a little bit. And then I had this past week a special event, the official book launch of the match of the week year one book, full year of doing this thing and releasing it in book form at Supernova Brisbane, the sort of comic and gaming expo that they have up here, kind of like Australian Comic Con in a sense. But yeah, sort of treated it as like a bit of an official book launch event. So I had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre, where I set up my art, brought along my books, and I didn't know how this was going to go. I had a Friday I'm going to be honest with you, it was pretty quiet. I officially made 2 sales on the Friday. And it's not all about that. I'm not there just to make money. I'm there to talk to people and to, spread the Chris things with the world. So I don't always just look at it in a sort of a strictly, financial kind of sense, or I try not to. But, sometimes you can get a bit disheartened at those kind of results. So after not a stellar one, I was like, oh, okay, I think there's a chance that this supernova sort of like comic and gaming and cosplay kind of crowd might not be the most kind of people that are interested in the Chris things. So it was a bit of a daunting start. I'll be honest, that night I did go down to scratch and I had a few commiseration beers. But then I was back at it for Saturday and Sunday, and that's it. You just gotta have the spirit to keep on plugging away when things might not seem like they're doing that well. Like, well, I'm here, I'm gonna make the best of it. And I did, and then it turns out Saturday was actually a really good day. It was a nice vibe. I got to have so many fun chats with different interesting people. I got to, a lot of people supporting and buying the book. It was such a cool feeling, honestly, like people coming along. Some of which I want to say a special shout out to all of y'all that came out and made a point to especially come up to the Chris Things stand. So when they saw that, I was announced on it, that was, they wanted to come by specifically and get the book there. That was a very special thing. So thank you. It was very cool to get to actually sign the book for people in person. I'm sorry, I don't really have the words quite to put that into words, but it was nice. It was bloody nice to have people buy something that you put a lot of work and love and care into, and say, hey, I'd like you to sign this for me, please. Like, that was very, very nice. So yeah, super good. Sunday was real fun as well. My partner Kaylin came along on Sunday as well for the afternoon, and I was very appreciative of that. It sometimes makes it a little bit more fun when you have company for these things, but it's also important for me to kind of be able to do it on my own, if that makes sense. That's a bit of a thing I'm kind of working through at the moment, of trying to be like independent with this stuff, but also there's a point when company just makes things a bit more fun. But I honestly have so much fun when I meet different people at these events too. I had so many chats with different interesting people. So if any of y'all are listening to this podcast from having met me at that thing, I want to say welcome on board to the Chris Things. Here we are. Let's bloody do this thing. I hope if you don't get too sick of me too quick. But yeah, really fun event. I was bloody tired by the end of it, I'll tell you that, but it was so good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having a crazy busy December as well with the Oddities and Curiosities Expo that I'm doing in Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, travelling all over Australia, doing this thing, flying all over the place. When I booked my flight to go back for the Sydney trip, for those of you all in America who don't know, it's quite a distance between these different cities in Australia. So my trip back from Sydney to Brisbane was going to be bloody $280 for a one-way flight, which is insane. When you're trying to do things on a shoestring budget like I am, that's just whoa. So I decided I'm going to catch a train to come back. This is the life that I'm living. So whatever I have to do to make this work, I will do my very darndest to make it work. But yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that made that in-person book launch just so special. Extra big thank you to everyone who got the pre-order online. I love you guys. Just seeing the amount of pre-orders come through and the support and everything just made me so happy. So again, more than happy to give you a bit of a thank you bonus art print as part of that too. Thank you for that loyalty and that support because it means the world to me. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you want to follow any of my upcoming events, the events page of christhings.com.au. If you want to buy the book, you want to buy any prints, anything at all, that website, christhings.com.au, is the place to be. And yeah, I think we'll have another wrestling club hopefully announced in the near future. Yeah, man, wild times. We're also attempting to buy a house right now, and that has been so stressful. All the things at once. Yeah, fingers crossed that works out. Knock on wood. But yeah, I'm trying to bring you guys in to be open about things, be open about the things that might not work out great, be open about my feelings through it. Because yeah, I guess documenting this kind of like art career journey is a big part about what this podcast is meant to be. But I think that's about it. That's enough of me lollygagging here. Let's get on to our special lightning round 6 match of the week special that this episode's gonna be. Could be a disaster or it could be fun. I don't know. Let's find out together. Enjoy. All right, friends, we have our first cab off the rank here. We're talking about match of the week number 53, the big American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness match from September 25th at the Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York, AEW's big Grand Slam edition of Dynamite. And I have cousin Ben on the line to talk about it. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Pleasure to be on the show again.
Happy to have you back. It's been a little while, but we have to keep it quick for this one. This is our lightning rounds edition of the show. So we got a bloody match here to talk about. Let me start the clock. Here we go. Boom, our timer is off. So I just rewatched this match. I'm not sure the last time you got to see it, but when I originally watched this, I didn't quite value it as much as I would on rewatch. Initially, there were some things about it where I was like, oh, it's not quite as good as the previous classics. But when I rewatched it, I think I appreciated it more for the special little bonus that it was. What were your thoughts?
Oh, well, I'm glad you've sort of melted towards what I was saying in the first place, because I remember very vividly you are very critical when we spoke about it the first time.
Well, there was a lot of stuff that I loved about the match, and I loved the nods to the previous part of the series, but I think the thing that I couldn't quite get my head around was just how dramatically different it was in terms of like the impact of the strikes and some of those like sort of paintbrush slaps by Nigel that seemed like they couldn't crack an egg. They were kind of heartbreaking for someone that watched all these previous ROH classics back in the day. But life happens, so, you understand it.
Yeah, I sort of saw those more as cheeky, just saying, like to Danielson, I don't think you have it anymore. They weren't, he was just doing weak strikes because he does that now. Right. I just thought it was more just it was more of an insult to Daniel saying, I don't need to do much, it's going to fucking take you out, you're that part. You're that much past it now.
That is an interesting way to think about it. Maybe you're right.
We won't really know until you actually see Nigel in the ring again, but when he wanted to, he did let loose. Like, I do agree, like, if they weren't intended as like an insult to Danielson, saying, I don't really need to do much to fucking take you out, then yes, they are not him, and what he was known for is a hard striker and making someone hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we spoke about this. Both of these dudes have had a lot of concussion issues, and Danielson obviously had a lot of things going on at this point, sort of that final stretch of his full-time run. Now he's on the shelf for who knows how long. So, you take it with a grain of salt, I guess.
No, 100%. It's like, I'm happy that we got to see it, especially considering I had been listening to Nigel's commentary about Danielson for I felt like a lifetime.
It was quite grating towards the end there, wasn't it?
Oh, it's like if I couldn't treat his voice as white noise in those matches, it really would have taken something away from him, because he did really play it up. It's like, there has to be a match, because otherwise this is just fucking going just one step too far.
Yes, I think it did get to the point of taking away for some of those Danielson matches down the finishing stretch. But I do want to talk about the good things about this match more so than the not so good, because there was a lot of great stuff, and it really stood out to me on rewatch of it today. And I did a rewatch a bit earlier when I actually made the call to make it my match of the week. And there is a lot to love, a lot of nods to the previous series. A lot of really cool sort of like submission wrestling exchanges, and a lot of flashbacks to Nigel McGuinness, a dude that I bloody loved back at this time. I was such a big fan, man.
Oh, 100%. I just love the way he goes about it. The intent, just the way he moves, the way he carries himself. It's like just perfection in the ring for me. Just everything about the way he goes about it, especially in his prime. I loved every minute of seeing it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was nice to be able to see him. It's like, he came back, he looked in amazing nick. For a guy who hadn't wrestled in, 13 years?
Yeah.
That's the other way I took it. It's like, well, this guy's been out of ring for 13 years, and he was still far better than 90% of the people who have been wrestling non-stop for the last 10 or 12 years. Yeah. For me.
Yeah, exactly. And like, as much as I was saying some of those strikes earlier on were a bit iffy, he definitely did, as you're saying, have some stuff down that finishing stretch where, he hit that jawbreaker lariat, maybe not quite as devastating as he would have, 15 years prior, but still pretty darn good by today's American TV wrestling standards. Had some beautiful, European uppercuts that he was always known for. And yeah, a lot of fun stuff. I even really appreciated the sort of nod to the bit on the outside around the corner post. I don't know if you remember that United match that they had in Liverpool back in the day with those absolutely gross head clunks on the corner post.
Well, I was hoping to try and watch some of their older ones, but I just didn't get time on today. I got enough time to rewatch this one and the other match, but in the end, I didn't get time to go back and watch some of their stuff in their heyday, which I would have loved to have seen, because it was nice that JR and Excel made mention during the match to moments that they were bringing back from what they'd done in previous matches, and spots all they paid ode to in the match and that kind of thing, as you mentioned with the headbutts.
Certainly, and I think it's a really nice thing when you really think about it, that this series of matches that, back then for people like me that were, buying these tapes on the internet and DVD and tape trading and all of that, or like a super, super hardcore kind of like wrestling nerd fan, and that this was like as good as wrestling got for us back then. But now that sort of being able to be spread, to all sorts of people watching wrestling on TBS or TNT or whatever the heck this is airing on. So it's cool that maybe that, that got people to go back and watch those glory days of Ring of Honor.
Oh, 100%. And that's the main thing, actually showing how good these guys actually were. Not just the majority of people had just been watching WWE and just other forms hadn't actually seen these guys in their more McGuinness in his prime, what he was capable of doing. It's like, who's this fucker? When you actually see this and you can sort of see, well, like, fuck, if he was this good now, what was he like in his prime, and how good was he against Danielson back then? To go back and check him out and see, oh, fuck, this guy was amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And, I'm never one of these people that's like going to judge others to be like, oh, you haven't seen this before. Like, no, I think that the better thing is like, if this does awake like an interest for people that can then later on go down that rabbit hole, and it can open their mind up to like, whoa, I had no idea what this Ring of Honor in the early to mid 2000s was like. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, 100%, because that to me was at its prime, and I liked it at its heart, whereas at the smaller venues, the more intimate, the more rough type looking thing, not stadium or your arena type thing. It's just your old hall that had a bit of character, and you had the seats being thrown everywhere because it's got into the crowd, and just that kind of stuff from when they were doing their smaller shows back in the day, which is when I really enjoyed seeing it.
Yeah, back when they were like more of a tri-state area company.
Yeah.
I mean, their last match they ever had prior to this one was at the Manhattan Center, which is just such a beautiful venue. On that last match, on that last one at the Manhattan Center, both of their farewell from Ring of Honor, last match of their series, one of the things that was very disappointing and sad about that match was that for the ring introduction, we did not get Final Countdown. We got some shitty cover version of that. That was a bit of a sad part when we got to that stage of Ring of Honor where we couldn't have the licensed bootleg music anymore. We did end up getting it right at the end where Danielson in his post-match promo he called for it, which was quite nice. But it was a very lacking part, so I wanted to say very big pop this time when
100%.
that was part that we got done properly. Europe's Final Countdown, playing Danielson down to the ring and for the post.
100%. It's like, to me, when that song hits, there's no better entrance. And then when the crowd starts singing along at the end, it just tops it off, and it's like perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on top of that, we another thing that was a big part of the series. I'm not sure if you picked up on it, but you're gonna get your fucking head kicked in.
I actually did not. I didn't hear that in the crowd. I was listening. I was watching it the second time on the AirPod, so no, I missed that.
Oh man, maybe one to rewatch carefully. But man, that was another big part of the series that made me very, very happy. So yeah, overall, I think this is a celebration of the beautiful nature of this feud. A little special tribute at the end. Maybe not something that you could put on the same level as the rest of the feud, but I thought it was still bloody awesome.
I totally agree. Might as well say one. So, what made you end up choosing the final or the finish as your picturesque moment?
I think it would have to be the fact that I think if you look at that match overall, that moment probably has the most like emotional kind of element to it, and that moment when Nigel is just about to tap and just trying to hold off, and then when he says I don't know, I think it was thank you. Heard other people say it was fuck you. I think it was thank you. But yeah, I thought that was just a pretty cool moment as well. Everything that led up to it, and the fact that Nigel worked over his arm, and then he was sort of able to
100%.
use the arm while holding the other one in place. Yeah,
to me, it was pure perfection to go from that move, Danielson doing that move Nigel does in the ropes, goes in a lariat, and the way they made the landing on the ground to then go into the label lock, it was like perfection. And then either way you take it, him saying thank you or fuck you or whatever, to me either works, because they both, it's like they sort of say, well, they left any unanswered questions, as you may put it. Like, not the best match of their feud, but it was worth going back.
Yeah, like a lovely little postscript that we get at the end there.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, well, I think we're right out of time for that one, but thank you so much, Ben. We'll have you back later on in this episode to talk about another match of the week, but I'll say sayonara right now.
See you later.
All right, folks, we're back. We're back for match of the week number 54, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. Yes, hell has frozen over, and I've chosen a WWE match for my match of the week, and I've got my dear bud Bradley on the line to talk all about it.
Hey, man, how you going?
I'm good, man. We have a quick paced one here for this match, but I'm stoked to talk to you about this. And I thought, you're probably the most of a regular WWE pay per view watcher, so I thought, it's pretty appropriate.
Yeah, finally got you. Finally got you with a WWE match.
You did, you did. All right, well, without any further ado, let me start the timer. There we go. We're all official here. Okay, so this match took place on October 5th, 2024 at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The blood and bloody something. What was
Bad
the
Blood.
pay-per-view called? Bad Blood. That's
Bad
it.
Blood.
The last Hell in a Cell we got at Bad Blood was that sweet Triple H versus Kevin Nash match, wasn't it?
Oh, was that really long one?
Yeah, that awful one.
I don't think I ever watched that. I heard it was long and boring, so I didn't watch it.
I watched it in a cinema.
Oh, very exciting.
Yes, but no, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. Now, I wanted to quickly say, in the lead up to this, I ended up watching this match in a Vietnamese hotel room. It was very difficult to watch. I couldn't access Binge over there, so I had to use nefarious means to get to this. But I watched in the lead up to it their strap match thing that they had
Yeah.
that I didn't really care for. And I was starting to feel, man, I feel like this whole feud is kind of cursed after some early awesome promos. And then, boy, this ended up being probably my favorite WWE match in many, many years. Everything that I would want out of a big feud blow off, steel cage match, blood, physicality. Man, this just was everything for me. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it as well. I watch more of the WWE stuff for you, so maybe not my best in the last few years, but it's still probably top, maybe let's say top 5 Hell in a Cell matches, which is a pretty high bar.
I'd say this is my favorite Hell in a Cell match ever.
It not unfair, it's crazy entertaining. Just so much unique stuff that they got in there is as well. After however many dozens of Hell in a Cell matches it's been now, just some of the spots that they did were just you just did not expect it, and also shocking in the amount of violence for a WWE match.
Oh my gosh, that was what I loved the most. I'm like, so much stuff that we're like, all right, that's not allowed in WWE, that's not allowed in WWE. It's new regime, and I still have my my gripes with the fella in charge, but I'm so happy that so much of this got back to actual gritty professional wrestling. Even going as far as during it, them talking about the history of pro wrestling in Atlanta and the last Battle of Atlanta, that awesome match with Buzz Sawyer and Tommy Rich. Man, this just was like a breath of fresh air, and I'm like, what? This isn't the WWE that I've come to expect.
Yeah, it was the spots in it were just way more than what you expected. But the thing that you might not appreciate as much, that I think was an awesome part of it as well, is I'm sure you appreciate how into the crowd was, but the crowd was into it because of the build of that match, the build of that series of matches and the promos between the two guys, which for the longest time, I think in WWE, they'd do these, have a match, then have a rematch, then maybe a third match, and it was something you were sick of. You just wanted to have the match, have a blow off, and do it. But Punk and Drew have had that sort of series of matches now. And yeah, while you didn't love the strap match, and I think that was probably mostly because of Seth's, what he was doing in it.
Oh, that was the SummerSlam one.
Oh, that was SummerSlam. Oh, okay. Yeah, but still, yeah, even if you didn't enjoy the other ones, the crowd was still super into it because of how much it's just been built. And a hot crowd always makes a match better, and the crowd was crazy hot for it from the very start.
Absolutely. And I think as well, there was a part where I did hear a lot of people complaining about the bracelet schmoz stuff, but I thought the way they treated that in this match was actually really good and didn't take away from it, and it sort of acknowledged it, whilst still feeling like it's a fight, and we're not pausing this fight to acknowledge a prop or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean that's the part of that is they have to have done the work up until that point to make the bracelet mean anything. So maybe some of the stuff that you found a bit not as interesting or whatever before with the bracelet, it's at least it mattered now. And so
Yeah.
like now when he pulls it out of the bag, and like when he pulls it out of a bag that you expect thumbtacks from, and then it's all the bracelet bits, and you're like, that could be without a good build, that could be, just super underwhelming. It's like, oh, we were expecting more violence in this crazy violent match, and instead we're getting beads. But because of the build to that and all the stuff they'd done with the bracelet up until then, the beads coming out and being like shoved into Drew's mouth, and just like, that's awesome. That felt violent and hate filled in a way that you needed it to.
Yeah, I prefer that so much more than all these like spots that we see of dudes getting bloody thumbtacks, put in their mouth, and then the bit where they get super kicked and spit their thumbtacks out or whatever. Like, this had meaning, and I think that's a lot of professional wrestling when done right. You build something up, and then you pay it off in a great way. And I thought that's what this did fantastically. I adored the bloody toolbox shot near the start that opened up one of the gnarliest hard ways that we've seen in recent memory in WWE. Oh man, twice! Didn't we get two toolbox shots?
Yeah, there was a couple of like there was that first one that split him open, which like I didn't even realize at the time. Like I'm like, whatever, looked away or wasn't paying that close of attention. And just like, oh yeah, Drew's been hit, and then he's bladed himself really hard. But it wasn't until after the match when I saw like the photos of Drew's head and how he like that split right down the top of it. And like, that's not a blade job. He just got absolutely split open with that toolbox shot. Yeah. And yeah, the amount of blood pouring out of him is like, it really worked for it.
Yeah. I really thought in a lot of ways this was everything, and I've been very loyal to AEW for a long time, and I'll tout all the successes of AEW, but this was everything that I would have wanted out of that match between Swerve and Hangman. Real late feud, blow off cage match. I think this was just done so much better, and not just attention seeking spots for the sake of the look how dangerous we are or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I liked bits of the Swerve Hangman match, but yeah, I think overall this is definitely a more effective version of that same sort of thing.
Yeah, like I had more belief in it. I had more belief in both of the dudes, and everything kind of like made sense. And man, don't the bits with the steps. Oh my gosh, that was why it was very difficult to pick the exact moment for the illustration for this one. I was very close. I think my favorite part of the match was the part where we had him in the anaconda vice, and then he like goes to pick up the wrench or whatever it was and then he just grabs it off him and then just uncomfortably just brains him over and over again. I wanted to do that moment because that was my favorite moment in the match, but there wasn't quite a good angle on it. So that's why I ended up going with this one that I think just sort of like captures the overall devastation of the match, or at least that's what I was going for. And you get that little snippet of the steps in the background, sort of acknowledging that insane bump earlier on.
Oh, Drew's missed what's his kick? Missed Claymore kick where he back bumps on the edge of the step, like not flat on the step, on the edge of the step. It's like when I was watching that for the first time, me and Mitch was just like, oh, that visceral thing when someone just does something, you're like, oh, I know what that would feel like. What? That is just a poor choice, but super entertaining.
In my book, I'm like, if you're going to take a bump that bloody dumb, at least make it count and, do it on a big stage in one of the biggest matches of your career. Like, yeah, I thought it was great.
Yes. Me too. And like the whole match was just full of a bunch of unique stuff. Like not all of it as vicious as that, though some of it definitely, but just unique spots or unique setups to spots that still paid off in like the not convoluted way, where it just felt like, oh yeah, they're still trying to hurt each other the whole time. We've still got that hate between them the whole time. But the spots sort of always playing into that. Like one of the early ones was at the start where the tables get slid in. It's like, okay, well, they're setting up a table like they do in these sort of matches. And then Drew's like, looks at the leg and it's like, oh, you can't set it up properly. So he just yanks it off. It's like, they must have set that up. But it looked completely believable that Drew just looked pissed off that it wasn't working, pulled the table leg off. And then Punk ends up getting it and he's like, attacking Drew with it, and you see the little hinge hanging off of the table leg. He's like, that's going to go through his eye. Just like that moment of terror. It was like, does he realize how this table leg has broken? Because if he doesn't, like, this could go so poorly. But no, sort of just in the exact right spot, but where you didn't believe that he was being careful about it. He was like, no, Drew got lucky.
Yeah. It just felt organic, and it wasn't full of like guys setting shit up, or the thing I hate of like the stuff that they do on the announcers table where you got to hang on, let's clean everything off the announcers table,
Yeah.
I just thought it felt organic and not like a series of spots or whatever. Like it felt like a fight. It was so good, and I think overall, like, to me, that's what a cage match is meant to be. And this is kind of the closest thing to what a cage match back in the territory days of professional wrestling used to be. It's not about like who can escape this cage. It's like, all right, this is a fight to the end that's going to get bloody and we're going to see who is the better man.
Yeah.
That's what this was.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Me too. Loved it.
All right. Well, I think we've hit our time limit here. I'll have to let you go, but thank you very much, Bradley. I'll have you on a little bit later in the show.
Okay, awesome. We'll speak to you then.
All right.
All right. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We're up to match of the week number 55. On the line, I have a dear longtime pal of mine, Aaron Fazio, who I think go quite a ways back. We watched a lot of AEW together back in the day. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Dude, I'm very excited about it. We're talking about a match that I very much loved the most out of anything on the whole AEW Wrestle Dream card from October 12th in the Tacoma Dome. This was Darby Allin versus Brody King. And I bloody adored it. But before we start the clock here, I thought I'd touch on the fact that we used to have like AEW watch nights where we watched this shit like every week for a better part of a couple years.
We certainly did, yeah. Right when back in the early days when it kicked off, and I'm not sure what happened. We lost some momentum there, but we were definitely weekly viewings for as you say, probably a couple of years.
It was very fun. That was very special to me because that was the closest I got to, like, when I first started watching wrestling. I used to go over to my buddy's house and we used to watch WCW Nitro on his buddy Optus Vision or whatever the hell it was. And I remember that being real fun. And then I never had any time from then till, our hangs where we got to watch a wrestling show together every single week.
We should start it up again. I've fallen off the bandwagon this year with wrestling, so I actually I saw the card for Wrestle Dream and out of interest, just seeing what was happening. And I must admit I didn't watch the show, but I did obviously watch the match at your request. But yeah, we should do it. We should. I mean, that was the beginnings of Wrestling Club. I feel me and you and
for
and
sure.
the others.
The Wrestling Club was founded off of just wrestling hangs with buds. So yeah, for sure. I think that would be like
it lives on.
It lives on.
Yeah.
And I also want to give credit to you, a loyal member of Wrestling Club as well. I can't forget that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got my membership card laminated for the next club meeting. So you'll be excited to see that.
Tremendous. I will. Please bring it along. All right. So now we get into official time. I'm going to start the stopwatch here. Hang on a sec. Easier said than done.
Is this a physical stopwatch or digital?
Digital.
Okay.
Hang on. What's the Apple?
I don't know why that's important.
Do you just do clock in Apple? This is very professional here. Oh, here we go. Stopwatch.
I can be timekeeper. Oh, you got it?
All right. I got it. Let's put a 10-minute timer and start. Okay, so this match was fantastic for me because I thought a lot of the previous part of the show was kind of like bloated, and real stretched out and went for ages. And then this match was just like a bloody thrill ride. It didn't go too long. It just felt organic. It felt wild. It was like maybe the best like big man, little man match I've seen in fucking forever. So brutal, so physical. It ticked all my boxes. What did you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I can't talk to, what preceded it or came after in terms of, the event, but they nailed the psychology of this match, which is what I really loved. They played it perfectly with, Brody just dominating straight out of the gate. Darby comes up with these little chops and Brody just, shrugs it off and hoiks him out. And it was just shutting Darby down at every turn, like should happen, in reality.
Yeah.
As one should expect, because one of my gripes that I've shared with you many times is, and it particularly seems to happen in women matches a lot. You've got someone the likes of Riho, going up and landing some chops on someone like maybe an Emmy, and she's selling them in reality. Like Riho could probably hit Emmy as hard as she wants, and Emmy could just like laugh it off like Brody. So it's great to see that they played this properly.
Yeah, I think Darby's real special for that because he's a smaller dude, but like he throws around his weight like as much as he possibly can.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
He even like right down to his moveset, like everything he does, it's like it's as plausible as you could possibly imagine for like a little dude who is just like hell to the wind or whatever the say is.
Hell to the wind.
Hell to the wind. Yeah, let's go with that. Hell for leather.
The old expression.
Something
Yeah, there's so many spots in the match that just like can't be faked, which is typical of a Darby Allin match. I mean, like to your point where he's just throwing his entire body weight behind him, which is great when you pair him up with someone like Brody because he can just take it, and it's just real high impact. Those I don't know if there's a name for them, like that cannonball battering ram tope.
The tope con hilo.
Yeah, it's just there's no faking it. So I think that's why people love watching Derby matches. I think they might have even commented on it in the match, because it's so visceral. Like you can just feel the pain. So it's always entertaining when you get someone like Darby who's willing just to put his body on the line for the fans.
Take some ridiculous bumps. Like I honestly think Darby is the closest thing we have to a modern day like Cactus Jack or Mankind murdering himself.
100%. I'm sure that many of people have made that comparison before, but for good reason. And yeah, he definitely goes too far sometimes. I'm sure we all remember the Sting's last match and the glass.
So good.
I mean, yeah, it's just unnecessary. Like I don't want. I want him to have a long career, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, and that's fine if that's what he wants to do. But yeah, this match was great, and fortunately, it didn't look like he hurt himself too much. Although there were a couple of crazy spots.
Oh man, he's definitely here for a good time, not a long time. Even right from the get go, I bloody loved like when I heard this match was happening, I had very high hopes for it because I'm familiar. They've had quite a few matches in the past that were awesome. Even like going all the way back to like PWG and me going to some of those shows in downtown LA.
Right.
But like seeing them do this on like a big stage here, and they've got such amazing chemistry. But yeah, right from the opening moments of the match, the bit where I was like, okay, this is gonna fucking rule, is when you said Darby's just going at him, and then Brody just hip tosses him or beals him over onto his neck on the ring apron.
Just tossing him around like fucking luggage.
Really just set the tone for the rest of the match from that point right there.
Oh, exactly right. And what I love about it too is it's just like you're watching it, and again, like in the if you're not suspending your disbelief too much, you're like, well, how is this going to turn around from here? Like, Brody has set the tone, he's dominating. Like, how's Darby going to get the upper hand? But I can't quite remember how it happened the first time round. I think that Brody made a little mistake and just gave Darby an opening, and he just it was that rapid fire offense. I think it was probably the topes, and then a coffin drop to the outside, and so that sort of turned the tide a little bit. And then I like the little callback with Darby slapping on the sleeper over the ropes.
Yes, yes, the hanging sleeper to the
Yeah,
outside
yeah.
of the
Although
apron.
there wasn't much hanging going. Darby was the one hanging again still somehow. And yeah, but like again, Brody just drags him over the ropes and just squashes him. And it's just like, yeah, that's what would happen.
Yeah, man, that like German suplex from the rope into the
Uh,
ring, so gross and amazing.
yeah. He landed like on the first one entirely on his shoulder. Like that would be so painful.
Oh yeah,
I
he
don't,
took
I
another
don't
bump
understand.
like on his felt like on his arm and shoulder, like on the ring apron a point earlier in the match.
Yeah.
Wild. I just love the amount of physicality in this match, like stuff that really looks like it hurts because
Mm.
it probably does. Um,
Absolutely.
and it
Uh,
just
the-
felt like organic too. Like, we talk a lot when we would watch AEW. There's some stuff that's
yeah.
just so sticky, and it's like just
Yeah.
so convoluted and blah blah blah. There was some wild shit in this match, but it all felt organic and like it was in the context of an actual fight. And that's what I love
Yeah.
most of all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, even, just something as simple as a chop is so devastating when there's such a huge size differential. Like there's no selling required by Darby because to your point, it hurts. Like
Yeah.
that's just you're just seeing a man just fucking slap the crap out of another smaller man.
And the back
Um,
chop too.
Hey, the back one. Yeah. You can't even prepare. I don't think he knew that was coming. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
and I
good
want to
stuff.
make mention too of the stuff with the steps. That was super cool in this match.
Mm.
Like the stuff early on with like him standing on the steps, and
Yeah, that was
almost going to be the moment of the illustration that I chose.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
But then I ended up going for the one in the ring with like Darby crawling and Brody just looking like this gargantuan titan in the background. I was like, that captures the vibe of the match, I thought.
You're right. Yeah, when you showed me it, I thought exactly. I'm like, yeah, that tells the story. You've just got this mountain of a man towering over this guy whose legs just stopped working partway through the match. Yeah, that was really really well done. I liked it a lot. Yeah, what else happened? Yeah, the steps. They made the comeback towards the end, which was really cool.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the steps are
that first,
incorporated right into the finish as well. So
yeah,
you get them as
yeah.
a significant point early on, and then they're
Yeah.
a key part of the ending, which I thought was cool from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, really clever because so often, with when you've got, foreign objects, as it were, they get set up on the outside early in the match, and then like, well, obviously, it's Chekhov's gun, it's going to get used, so it's no surprise when it comes into play at the end. But like, they used the steps to great effect for multiple spots at the beginning, and then they were just left there. So you don't really consider the fact that, oh, they're going to use that again, and especially for the finish, that was really cool. But yeah, that first. Brody sort of whips him into the steps. He leaps over, and then he comes flying back, and then he just eats that forearm. That is that was such a good shot. Like that looked like it hurt.
Most
and it
guys
probably
are not
did.
taking that bump, like credit to Darby to just be like, yeah, dude, just fucking murder me, man. Like, so good.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so good, right? Because you know that obviously Darby's just giving him permission just to not hold back with, the chops or any of it. So it makes for an entertaining match when you can just see that nothing's being pulled.
Yeah, and it just, I think, is the greatest. One of the things I said in my write-up of it is I think it brought out the best of both dudes. Like, you see Brody is a fucking monster, and you see Darby as just like the most wily dude that's willing to do fucking anything. And I think we're down to the 1 minute warning here.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, lastly, when we had the finish, and the fact that we had that awesome bit with the coffin drop to the outside on the steps after Brody taking that gnarly bump onto the steps. So often you'd be like, you got him into the ring and then there's another near fall. But no, straight to the finish. I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, it kind of caught me by surprise because I just expected the match to go longer. My only gripe with this match was that bump on the steps with Darby pushing him. He gives him a little wave, and then it's just kind of like the fucking weakest push, and sends Brody flying. So I'm just like, oh, maybe they could have thought about that. Like that's the only time the psychology was broken, but it's such a minor thing. But like Darby could have climbed to the top and just like sort of drop kicked him onto the steps or something. And then like the near count out. As a small thing, I thought Brody could have just stayed like laid out on the top of the steps. Would have been like a more like cool imagery, and would have made the count out like more believable that he possibly could get, if he was just stuck staying where he caught the coffin drop, but he sort of just rolled off.
Oh, I think we've
Um,
reached the timer.
But yeah, look, I mean, the final thoughts. Happy Darby finally got a win over Brody. It was done in a way that made sense. And I think I said to you, not quite a 5-star match for me, but it's a solid 4
Yeah,
for
yeah,
him.
for sure. And I thought it was just perfect. I loved it. I adored it. And I love both these guys. I hope both of these dudes are like, I could see both these guys as future AEW world champions, to be honest.
Whoa, you heard it here first, folks.
I hope. We'll see.
See.
Yeah. But man, so good. And yeah, I wanted to have you on to talk about this because of our long-standing AEW, Dynamite watch nights. I feel like we've kind of come full circle here. And yeah, maybe we can bring them back a little bit in the future.
I think we need to, as long as you don't move too far away. But
well, I'll be back quite frequently regardless, so we'll definitely be
All
able
right.
to make that work. And yeah, man, I wanted to say thank you, and I'd love to have you back on for like a full episode where we can
okay.
talk at length it's about some stuff in the future perhaps.
Maybe we'll see. But thanks for bringing this match to my attention. It's definitely reignited the interest. So I'll have to get watching.
Awesome, dude. Thanks so much.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Build up to Black Friday with savings all month long at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances, plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to pick up holiday inflatables under $20. Don't wait to save, in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.
All right, we're back. We're here for match number 56. Match very close to my heart in Fit Finlay versus Terry Funk, and I'm very happy to be talking about it to a card-carrying member of Wrestling Club, Joe. Man, so excited to talk about this match, and I thought no one better to discuss it with, given our Wrestling Club thing.
Chris, thanks, mate. Lovely to talk to you. Big fan of the show, big fan of the podcast. So honoured to be here talking to you about this match.
Dude, no, I am stoked. Love to have you on. Love to have you on in the future, to have you on for a full episode. But, for this one, I was trying to think up, people who might be, best to talk about certain things too. And, I really thought that for this one, you're a kind of guy that has a bit of an appreciation for the Funker. So, yeah, very stoked about it, man.
Well, definitely, and I have to say that's only grown as part of Wrestling Club because you've always tried and sneak some Terry in there.
I try.
There's always a lesson from Funk University in there, and it's great to whether it's his promos or his matches, whatever it is, it's always fantastic.
You're right. It's always a wild time, but yeah, I do make a special effort every Wrestling Club to include a bit of the Funker.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a special thing to me, and this one especially.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, this match. I mean, where do we begin? Really?
Well, let's start the timer. But this one took place on December 21st, 1996, at the Euro Catch Festival in Bremen, Deutschland. And yeah, on rewatch, I kind of thought this is a bit like Big Lebowski in that you just notice new weird little things and it just keeps getting better and better.
That's really interesting. You're right. It is a subtle match in many ways, and I have to say, your selection of it is really interesting because what in some instances would be like to the detriment of a match on like this on YouTube, it being a fan cam and all that type of stuff, I think actually adds to it. For me, and I know that sounds like a weird, like maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid here, of the Terry Funk Kool-Aid.
Nothing wrong with that.
But it is a thing. One of the things I was struck with in the match was, obviously we're well past the days of people thinking, not understanding that pro wrestling was a work. But then when you watch a match like this and you sort of put yourself in the shoes of like a fan in that position, seeing this whole match just from that seat, no editing, no jumping, none of that. And then you watch the skill with which Terry throws those punches and how Fit sells them and vice versa.
Tremendous.
You're like, I do understand how, like in 1954, someone could go watch one of these matches and think that you just saw two of these men beat the snot out of each other. And then once he starts bleeding, you're like, oh, well, of course. Like, this is, what do you mean this is 100%. This is legit. This a work? What are you talking about?
Absolutely. This whole thing just feels like we are transported into this wild, magical, wacky world of 1996 Germany, and there's this weird little club. It's recently in the lead up, I guess, to Terry's second retirement at this point. But man, the music. Terry coming out to Born in the USA, Fit coming out to Boney M, and then the fact that it's the European rounds and we get this amazing musical interludes between matches. There's just a celebration of all amazing things of the 80s American pop culture in 1996 Germany.
Yes. And am I right in saying the ring announcer is sort of semi-announcing parts of the match over the PA? Like, you're getting the count from him, and also some like play-by-play of...
Yes, sort of. I mean, I absolutely love the fact that, during different parts of the match, he goes to the PA and goes, stop! But it's too excessive roughness, I guess. Stop, Mr. Finley! Mr. Funk, stop!
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you always say it, but there's a wild world of wrestling out there with all these little nooks and crannies, and this is just an example of it. The other thing I thought about watching it was, Striped Trunks Terry Funk is sort of, that's for me, and you and I are of a similar age, that's probably the first Terry Funk we encountered, was this version of Terry Funk.
The middle-aged and crazy Terry Funk.
Yes. Before all, some of the great stuff you've shown at Wrestling Club and some of these more famous matches in the blue trunks and in Japan with his brother and all of that type of stuff. But, I thought it was great. And then, Fit, he's, Terry is the star of this show. Like, he just shines throughout it, and Fit's interesting. Like, he's not a wrestler I've watched a huge amount of, to be honest. But I thought they had great chemistry together in this match for sure.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of the Fit Finley that I'd seen before was that sort of like a world of sport or European sort of like a evil roughhouse bad guy Finley that he was just so good at. And then same through WCW, that great feud against Regal, and then into the WWE stuff on SmackDown, always the heel. But it's so cool to see him as like this rugged, fiery babyface version of Fit Finley, which I found just delightful and so great to work off of. The zany, over the top. Middle-aged and crazy American bad guy Terry Funk, and those Terryisms, I like to call them Terryisms. This match had so many of them. The great bit when he was like headbutting Finley, and with each headbutt, it like took away more from Terry than for Finley, and it just got worse. It went on. We got the great Terry stumble wobble sell. Oh, so good.
Yes.
Just no one quite like Terry Funk in those weird, delightful little moments.
That was the other probably highlight spot for me was the headbutts. Again, it looks like he is just smashing his head into a person, and he's selling his own offense essentially. And that makes it more believable, because that's what would happen if you decided to headbutt another person repeatedly. You would also concuss yourself quite badly.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic match. Thank you for bringing it to my eyeballs.
No problem, dude. So happy to. Yeah, I think it, especially the fact that you're saying that it's a stationary camera, it really helps to just transport you to this totally different world. I love that also that the footage is kind of grainy and not quite, ideal, but you can kind of hear the people around you and oh my gosh, I just noticed when I was rewatching it on the entrances. There was what do you call them? It's like a fizzer, sparkly kind of thing on a stick almost.
Sparklers or
Yes, sparklers.
oh my god!
So we have all of the fancy pyro these days. Someone was just holding up like a sparkler or a couple of sparklers for the entrance of this bloody incredible
Didn't
stuff.
even see it.
Man.
I didn't even see it. That's amazing. I'll have to rewatch. but and then you're right. Sorry, the other thing I was going to say, just go back to what you said, was the idea of having Born in the USA, famously a protest song, then internationally it plays different. I mean, Ronald Reagan didn't get it either, but just even that, Terry Funk coming out the Bruce Springsteen, a protest song, but in Germany received completely differently. I thought.
Oh yeah, I would like to think that maybe Terry acknowledged kind of the irony there, like this famous indictment on the Vietnamese War and American culture at the time, but that also it's so great that it could be used transporting in bloody Germany of all places to be this gaudy patriotism kind of song. Oh, and then the music between the rounds as well. My gosh, especially we get that final round. Terry is just hanging for so long to final countdown.
The fact that he's hanging there suspended for what 15, 20 seconds.
So long, dude.
yes. Good, but is still believably looking like he just can't get himself out of this predicament. He's not twisted up necessarily. Fantastic stuff.
Just such classic Terry. That amazing pantomime. Oh man, I love it. And then another thing that I noticed, that might just be me putting my own thing on it, but that's kind of what you have to do sometimes. The start of the match, there was a moment with there's this weird sort of bar around the edge of the ring where people have their drinks sitting and shit. And there's a bit where I don't know if they go out and they brawl out and somebody hits somebody on it, but then I think maybe Terry even ends up standing on the bar. So we've established that there's this bar there. And then that would come back to be a key part of the finish of the match, where the closing moments, Terry goes to suplex Finlay over that bar. Finlay reverses it, brain busts Terry on the bar, gets back in. Finlay wins by count out. We get the beautiful sounds of Belfast by Boney M over the speaker. Just a beautiful, beautiful moment. Terry's going crazy, throwing chairs into the ring as only Terry can. Just what a beautiful, perfect moment.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. As I said, thank you once again for bringing it to my attention, and thanks for talking to me about it.
Dude, my pleasure. It just really tickles me, as you said, that that infectious love for Terry has gotten you as well. Through these wrestling clubs. I feel like that's so nice for me to be able to spread that Terry kind of love. I had the Supernova event this past weekend with the book launch deal. And people ask me who is my all-time favorite wrestler. It's such a hard question. At some points I would have said Benoit. Other points maybe Misawa. Loki, Danielson. But hand on heart, I think now if I had to answer that question, I think it's got to be Terry Funk. I don't think there's anyone that this is quite the same. So yeah.
I think what again, talking about where you discover people, like my discovery is that crazy striped trunks Terry Funk, and what actually probably the biggest thing around him from Wrestling Club is just how unbelievable his promos were. And even, again, go back to this match, when the promo that he cuts at the start before they get started,
Yes.
like his projection of his voice, like even though it is just a camera and it is a bit muffled and all that, you hear everything that he says through that PA. Like he's like, even with the West Texas accent and all that, like he is completely intelligible and understandable to that audience. I mean, they're German, so how much they got out of it, but with him, it's all vibes. You don't really need to understand the exact words.
Yeah. Definitely got that like foreign menace kind of heel thing. He's telling everyone how much he hates Bremen, how much he doesn't want to have to be here. He just wants to go home.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks so much, man. I couldn't think of anyone else that I wanted to more celebrate my love for Terry Funk with on this, and especially the Wrestling Club and everything.
Appreciate it. Always keen for more funk, more of the funkster.
Yeah, yes, that's what I want to hear.
All right, catch you later.
Thanks so much, dude. All right, folks, we're back for our next one in the series here. I've got Ben back on the line, and we are talking match of the week number 57, Zack Sabre Jr. challenging for Tetsuya Naito's IWGP World Championship. This one took place on October 14th of this year at New Japan Pro Wrestling's King of Pro Wrestling event at Tokyo Ryogoku Kokugikan Sumo Hall. Welcome back, Ben.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. It's good to be here.
Yeah, we got a real energy about today's show. We're trying to keep to this lightning rounds deal. We'll see how close we can get to the 10-minute timer, which I've just started. But man, we have a tremendous match here to talk about. I guess also a big special moment for Zack Sabre Jr. finally getting to the top of that mountain in New Japan. What were your opening thoughts here?
Well, to me, it was a perfect culmination of the hard work he's put in over like the last 4 or 5 years. It's sort of just from the New Japan Cup wins to then, to me, it probably was, they dragged it a bit too long. But he had an amazing G1. He'd been their top guy, or top foreign guy. And then it just, the perfect culmination. Big stage, had all these TMDK boys follow him out to the ring. Then with him ringside, it was just no one does a big match feel better than the Japanese.
Yeah,
it's just the press around the photographers around the ring. Got these boys in his side, whacking the ring, cheering him on. The crowd going, even though Naito is as big as it is in New Japan. You felt as much as the crowd was for Naito, it just sort of. They were there for Zack just as much. It was just, there was a point where it sort of changed and it was like they wanted him to have his big moment, and I thought this was perfect for me.
Yeah, and then that's a very special thing, I think, when you get those moments in New Japan or in Japanese wrestling in general, where you have a dude that is, so beloved and has such a connection with the New Japan fans as Tetsuya Naito. I think a lot of like American and Western fans kind of like discount what a fucking massive star Naito is and what a great wrestler he still is as well. But he is largely, I'd say easily, New Japan's biggest draw that they still have. So it's easy to be like, these people saying, oh man, he's washed, he's this, he's that. But like, you can't forget that he is the biggest star they got, and he's still a bloody awesome wrestler. But you're right, it's a very cool moment when, despite that connection, you could tell like the Japanese fans did see Zack Sabre Jr. As a gaijin, but as one of their own. And it's like, how long has he been in Japan now? From his time in Noah to New Japan, like.
Well, wasn't it 2017 when he went to New Japan? I'm not sure, but he went through he trained at Noah, didn't he? In the dojo with Agawa.
Yeah, and he was in Noah for ages, like he's in stuff in the junior division, junior tag division. He was a Noah guy for a long time.
Yeah, so like even in the match when he's I'm glad they actually made mention of Ogawa and everything that he did with Zach and how he had odes to Ogawa in his matches. That the movie does where he has his 2 feet around the guy's neck and does that thing all the time where he twists it like he's trying to break the neck or what. The same way Ogawa does it, and just things like that through his match. Like the guys who've had big influence in his career, like the same with the few odes to Suzuki he had in the match as well.
Man, that was probably my favourite moment of the match when he went for the Gotch style pile driver, and what a significant moment that was.
Well, it was after, didn't he originally do the arm bar in the ropes first, and then he went to the Gotch style, and that is how you do a pile driver, Christopher. Not that fucking piece of shit, fucking one that was in WWE that was fucking sending a guy to hospital. Now, if that was the move I saw, you can fucking send him out in a fucking stretcher. But not that fucking falling over, fucking whatever the fuck it was.
So apparently Zach started in Noah in 2011. So he has been in Japan for a good period of his career. So I think that makes a lot of sense as to why, he has such a special connection. But yeah, I mean, I hate to be, those people that basically treat belts as like a career achievement award or that kind of deal. It's like it's not what a belt's meant to be. If you are at that level and you can bring something to the belt and the belt can bring something to you, then great, that's what it's about. It's not meant to be a lifetime achievement award, in my opinion. But at the same time, when you get it, when you get it in a moment like this, it can be a special moment if done right, and that's what I thought this was.
100%. From the pre-match to the match to after the match, it was all done perfectly. To when you had him win his title, the celebration, then after you had the procession of guys coming in to say, "I want to challenge you." You had Sonata, Shingo, to a lesser extent, Shota Umino, and there was one other. Was there one more? A fourth person?
I don't know. It's a little foggy, the post-match element to me.
But it was sort of, it started great. The match was amazing, and it finished good.
Yeah, and a key thing to me is looking at Naito through this, and again, coming at it from both of them, I thought had super interesting G1s. I thought Zach had some fabulous matches in this G1. Naito had some great ones as well. Some other ones that maybe were not so great, but it was the Zach one that was my favourite of his G1, their match they had earlier on. So that's what gave me high hopes for this. But then obviously, Naito's dealing with some injuries, and a lot of people, saying him close to retirement, all this kind of business. I thought this was a tremendous match to pull out if he is in a bit of a injured to, lesser state. I love the fact that he had, more of an emphasis on the submission wrestling. Even 100%. More, I love the fact that, it was so much so that he actually forced Zach to get that rope break, to his
where he's jumping himself across the ring on his back. Fucking it was good. But it's even Naito upped his game. It's he wasn't just phoning it in. This match meant something to him because he knew how much it meant for Zach. It's He pulled out things you don't see him do all the time. It's like the top rope. What's it called? Wasn't the Hurricane Rider? It was
it's like that variation of the. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then he he pulled out the side headlock takedown into a Puma Blanca, or it's like the capo kick. It's like he had his traditional spots he does, but he also.
And he hit a bloody Northern Lights bomb that looked sick. Shout out to Akira Hokuto and Kensuke Sasaki there.
He didn't, this match, he delivered. It's he knew what it meant, and it was perfectly paced. It worked within what where he's at, and he just delivered. To me,
every Destino he did as well came off great.
Yeah. It's even the traditional, the working over of Zach's neck. It's with the elbows down, and it's there was emphasis on the elbows. It wasn't just phoning in, just half-assing shit.
Yeah.
To me,
I mean, I guess you get that a lot of the time from when you have a dude who is dropping the belt. You know, he wants to do his darndest for when. I mean, that's probably a mark of a really great wrestler. When it's time, the end of a title reign, you want to finish that story on a high and make that guy who's going to carry that belt going forward look as good as possible, even if it's a difficult thing to do sometimes. But yeah, I thought he definitely set the table up for Zach's reign as good as he possibly could.
100%. It's like, as you said, the multiple Destinos, the big tornado DDT. It's like everything he did as good as he could do it, and it was great. And it made Zach come off even bigger than what he was. It's like the match only enhanced Zach. It didn't diminish anything he was to me. So that was the perfect match for Naito. It's like, to me, I would have given it at least, for me, it was a 4.5 type star match. At least. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't disappointed at all. It's like, it was perfectly paced. They both, you could tell the story they were trying to tell throughout the match, how they're working each other over. Zach he'd work the knees over, he'd work the neck. Naito was working over Zach's neck, as he always does. Everything was done for a reason, and I was very, very pleased with the match.
Yeah, for sure. I think this over-delivered, and I hope this exceeded a lot of people's expectations. It sure as heck exceeded mine. And yeah, I just thought it was so great, for with the parts that came into it. And yeah, I thought very interesting as well, like down that finishing stretch, more of an emphasis on the Zack driver or Michinoku driver than before, using that as like a proper, tippy top level finish rather than the submission finish kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think our timer is up, but yeah, and then that being the illustration moment of him capturing him and having that look of absolute desperation of trying to get that pin off of the first Michinoku. Yeah, I thought that was a real special moment, and then finally getting it, and you're like, man, we're here.
Would you call the last one where he hooked the leg just a Zach driver with a leg hooked, or would you call it a different move?
I'm trying to remember. Was it he hooked the second leg around, kind of the way Sigma does, like his spinning perfect driver kind of deal? Maybe a bit closer to that, perhaps.
Yeah. So like he did two traditional Zach drivers, and he wrapped the other leg around the leg and pulled him down. So it was more the way he landed. You landed in like a more of a pinning position with the legs. Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to follow Zach's title reign going forward. I haven't got around to watching the Shingo match that's just happened quite yet, but I'm very excited to.
100%. I really wanted to try and watch that one this week, so hopefully I can get some time and check it out, because everything I've heard, it's absolutely cracker of a match.
I mean, have Shingo and Zach ever had a match that wasn't an absolute cracker?
No, not that I can remember. Not good. They definitely both know how to deliver on a big match for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ben. Well, I think this has been an excellent lightning round. We might have fudged the numbers a little bit and got slightly over, but I think this concept is fun.
100%. It's a nice way to maximise your time.
Yeah, all right, we'll see how we go. I'll definitely be having you back at some point in the future for a full episode or whatever.
Sounds good, Christopher. Can't wait.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Enjoy your night.
No worries. I'm off to the gym.
All right. Enjoy. I am too, actually.
Hey, you going with your girlfriend?
Yes.
Oh, you're not making her look a bit crazy then. I'm glad you're finally walking in with her so she can show her PT. This is my boyfriend.
He actually exists. It's not just a guy who I say, is here and
Yeah, so people don't hit on
me. All right, Ben. I'll thank you, and I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, Chris. Catch you then.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. We're back. We're now up to match of the week number 58. I believe that is the final one of this episode. And I have Bradley back. Welcome back onto the show, friend.
Thank you.
and we are here to talk about one of my favorite matches of all time, Katsuyori Shibata versus Jun Akiyama, a match from the Wrestle 1 Grand Prix of 2005, the opening round of a tournament that I don't even know if it reached its conclusion at the Tokyo Ryogoku Kokugikan Sumo Hall. Two guys, one, Shibata, who had just departed New Japan. He just jumped into becoming the ace of Big Mouth Loud, which was a tremendous promotion if anyone wants to go down that rabbit hole, before his foray into the world of mixed martial arts. And then Jun Akiyama, the bastion of pro wrestling Noah's ace sort of at this point. Definitely literally waving the Noah flag. And man, this I think I told you before this happened. This is maybe the best cocky young punk versus surly veteran match that I've ever seen. What did you think?
Oh, it was awesome. Like you told me, I missed out on seeing it at Wrestling Club with you guys, and so you told me about it after, and I'm like, oh yes, that's definitely something I want to see. Especially when you compared it to the Kenta Tenryu thing with the young punk and the veteran just being mad about him. I'm like, yes, that's a style of match I am into, and I haven't seen any Shibata from this early on, and so like seeing the Shibata at the most young punk I've ever seen him, super entertaining.
Oh, there is so much great Shibata from this period. You're just scratching the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, man, from the opening moments, I think I love so much that this match just gets going in such vicious fashion so quickly.
Yeah, Shibata flies straight in with that kick. It was like, which you've seen him do before. But then he follows it up with this just delayed sort of that kick to the head, the Kawada style kick to the head, but he just pauses there. It's like he's not doing it because he's mad. He's doing it like he knows exactly what he's doing with that pause, and then whap straight into the side of Akiyama's head. You're like, oh, that is nasty.
That pause really made it, didn't it? It's like you stopped to think about what he was about to do.
Yeah.
Just a vicious kick to the forehead. I think he did another one after it.
Yes.
We have a brief moment, and then we realise that Akiyama is bleeding like a faucet. Again, hard way, I assume.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, as I rewatched the match, this and the Punk Drew match, I'm like, have I just watched like these two hard way bleeds in a row? I'm like, yeah, I think I have. I think that's going on.
What a great duo here, but man, and then. Not only that, how quickly it goes from Shibata just like getting on him and being such a dickhead to Akiyama being like, all right, let's bloody go. And then he just is such a ball of rage as soon as he gets him to the outside, hurling him into chairs, giving him a pile driver on the outside. Man.
Yeah, throwing the chairs at him, and it's just, and what I sort of liked about this match as well is like he's done that, he's beat him up on the outside, but then when they get back in, Shibata's pretty much straight back on top of him, and it really felt like Akiyama was giving Shibata giving Shibata a whole lot. Oh, excuse me, give me a sec.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was sort of the moment right at that point in the match that I chose for the illustration, the part where Shibata sinks in this choke, this sleeper, and that blood just starts to like bleed all over his arm. I thought that was such a sick visual. But yeah, this is really the part that I think made it, because the momentum went back and forth, and we had this part where Shibata was really capitalizing on the damage that he'd done earlier. And yeah, I think that's the magic of when you see dudes like Akiyama here, who's such a surly fuck in this match. It's amazing. But he's able to be surly because he's reacting to what Shibata is doing, and I guess like we're saying, what he is giving Shibata.
Yeah. And like just comparing it to that Tenryu Kenta match, just because they got that same vibe. Like Akiyama gives so much more than Tenryu does. Like that match is still super entertaining. Don't like not taking away from it, but like this makes Shibata feel like such a badass as well. Not just the young punk, but like he's a young punk and is absolutely dangerous.
Yeah, But man, that drop kick in the corner, the whole
Yeah.
vibe. I'm such a fan of Akiyama. When I first started watching Noah and getting the tapes, like he was sort of the top guy, being ushered in as sort of the ace for Noah of the new generation, new millennium, I guess. And he's such a cool wrestler. But man, I think this is my favorite match of his entire career, just because of the energy of this. It doesn't go too long, we go back and
Yep.
forth, and then it's almost like he has this pissed offedness of Shibata's sheer balls, and he just gets angrier and angrier as the match goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what the other thing that really like sells Shibata? Well, and one of the other things, but this spot in the match where Akiyama was on the outside and Shibata's trying to follow him out.
Mm.
And I don't know the name of the ref from this match, but the ref's just doing
Kohei Wada.
everything. Sorry?
Kohei Wada.
Okay, Wada. So he's just doing everything he can to hold Shibata back into the ring. Like he's tied him. He's like reaching around the ropes to just keep Shibata in the ring so he can't follow Akiyama out and just like keep doing damage to him. It's like so like Akiyama and the ref and Shibata himself are all sort of working towards like giving Shibata this real shine.
Yeah, I love Wada, man. Like he's one of my favorite Japanese wrestling refs of all time. He has a real special connection with the fans as well. Whenever they do the ring introduction for the referee, the crowd like repeats his name, sort of like a cool thing that they do. They've always back to his All Japan days. And yeah, that was one of the reasons again for that moment for the illustration. I wanted to try to include Wyatt there a little bit, because he is a big part of what makes this match so magical. Those little moments of like attempted intervention, it kind of like heightens the chaos.
Yeah. The other thing I love about your illustration is how, like, with that sleepy you've got in the illustration, like that's one of several like submission spots in the match where they're just locking it in really tight, and you can see that in your illustration, like just how tightly like Shibata is trying to hold on to it. It doesn't look like a worked hold. It looks like he's squeezing as hard as he can.
And that's how it felt like watching the match. Like,
Yeah.
It really felt like in every moment they were trying to kill one another.
Yeah, and like Akiyama had like the front guillotine later as
King
well.
Crab. So
And
good.
that, I'm just like, he's trying to pop his head off. It looks so great.
Yeah, and then down to like the closing moments, like I adored the end bit of this match where it was like, that was another really cool bit where he's ready to get him up for the Sternest Dust Exploder gimmick that I think he hit one earlier, but this is sort of his big one. And then Shibata's doing like the thing with his finger, like, no, hold on a minute. And then he's like, nope, fuck you. And then just up and down in one of the most gross high angle exploders you ever did see.
Yeah, just a bunch of head drops near the end there. All looked great, but I liked actually the exchange where it was like exploder, then Shibata gets back up, backdrop. Akiyama gets back up, exploder. And it looks like Shibata just straight kicked Akiyama in the solar plexus. It's just like, I'm like, I don't know how he's getting up or not vomiting on the mat from that. It's like, it's just a kick, but like just where it looked like it hit him, it was like, oh, that was as sick as the head drop.
Yeah. So much to love about this, but just that dynamic of surly veteran fuck versus young dude trying to make a name for himself is so much fun. And it's like so interesting to think that him and Kenta were like kind of friends at this period. They were both sort of like had that takeover sort of like semi unofficial tag team kind of like friendship with one another. They eventually got to team a little bit in Noah. But yeah, other than that, like, yeah, they're kind of so similar guys in a lot of ways.
I think I need to track some of that down. If Kenta and Shibata team together, that sounds like something that would be absolutely up my alley.
Just menaces.
Yeah. That's what I want. Hard kicking menaces.
Yeah, exactly. So this is yeah. I've chosen this to be the main event of that week's wrestling club because, like, what can come after this? Like, nothing can top this. And also, I was like really excited about the idea that most people probably haven't seen this before. So it's sort of like you might have heard of Shibata or might be familiar with Akiyama a little bit from the little bit of stuff he's done in AEW. But yeah, it feels kind of special to me to be able to present this this weird, uncomfortable, beautiful thing to unassuming victims.
Oh.
But yeah, Brad, I'm glad I got to chat to you about it, and I was honestly very stoked when you said of all the matches, this was the one of the ones you wanted to talk about.
Oh, I hadn't watched it yet at that point either. I'm just like, I know this is going to be my jam. So glad you brought it to my attention because I loved it.
Amazing. All right. Well, I think that does it for today. Our timer is about to go off, but I'd like to thank you very much for your assistance on both of those matches with this lightning rounds gimmick that we're doing this week.
Can I just chuck in a quick plug for something? You can cut this out if you don't want it in. But I don't know if people are aware, but there's a Chris Things Match of the Week Year 1 book that's got a collection of all your Match of the Weeks from the first year. And I picked up a copy just the other day, and I'm just flicking through it now. And it is a gorgeous little book with a bunch of real, like, your beautiful illustrations there, but he's also included all the little write-ups for it. So, like, as if you enjoy Chris's matches of the week, like, this is just a nice way to have them all. But the other thing you could do coming up to Christmas, if you've just got a wrestling fan and you're like, oh, I want to get them a Christmas present, this book would be awesome because it's like a little it's not like a top 100 matches or a top 50 matches where you're like, oh, because there's sort of like going to be a consensus or a canon with a lot of that stuff. This is just like a selection of matches that are going to be awesome with some awesome art to go along with it, and like the write-up that makes you really psyched to actually watch the match. So, like, it'd be a perfect Christmas gift for a wrestling fan.
Oh, Brad, thank you. That is like the nicest infomercial I could possibly get from my book.
I hope it gets you some sales because, like, it absolutely deserves it. It's a wonderful book.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's very nice, having just done that, kind of the launch event at Supernova, and also all of the wonderful people out there that have, done their pre-orders and bought it online. Super nice to get the support on that. And yeah, this match of the week thing that you have been, a big part of over our different weeks of doing the podcast and coming along to the wrestling clubs and everything like that. Yeah, it's cool to sort of bring them all together in some sort of, tangible form. So that was kind of the idea behind the book. And yeah, it's kind of cool to be able to be like, this is just what I happen to like the most that week. So it's kind of like a collection of, like, a year's worth of the best bits of my wrestling watching, which is kind of fun. But yeah, if it gets other people onto some stuff that they might not have known about or been too familiar with and got you guys down some interesting rabbit holes, and that makes me very happy.
Yeah, great. I love it so much.
Oh, thanks, Brad, and I will definitely look forward to having you on again in the future. I was just thinking today, it's been a while since I've had any low-key matches. That's a drought that I think needs to be seen too. So maybe you could be up for such a thing.
Oh, I would never say no to
that. Beautiful. All right, well, thanks so much, Brad, and I will talk to you next time.
Thank you. I'll speak to you later, man.
Oh. All right, guys, we did it. We got to the end of this bloody 6 matches or whatever it was that we needed to catch up on. The concept worked. I had fun. I think it was kind of good having a bit of a time limit and like a punchy kind of push to not get too distracted with the bullshit that being honest I often do. But yeah, we'll see if we maybe do something like this in the future. But yeah, I thought it was cool. Had a lot of fun just chatting to a bunch of my different mates about wrestling. also makes me grateful that, I have so many cool, different people in my life that can appreciate such things. Also super cool to have a variety of different wrestling club members for the chats. So that was super nice. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and now it seems we're all caught up on our matches of the week. How about that? Honestly, there was points where I thought that would never happen. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd like to thank all my guests for today. This has been a delightful time. I'd like to thank Social Suplex, the socialsuplex.com, the home to this wrestling podcast, a variety of other rad and eclectic different wrestling podcasts, from One Nation Radio to Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, the Trish and Sarah podcast, Tunnel Talk, Imp's WWE Adventure, some sort of AEW match recommendations thing, and I'm assuming a bunch of other stuff that I might not be aware of. But thank you, Social Suplex, for keeping the lights on, letting me do this thing. And yeah, again, so appreciative to everyone out there. So appreciative to Brad for his lovely plugs of the book, wrestling. The Chris Things Match of the Week, Year 1. It's out. It's official. I'm actually sending out the first lot of books today. And yeah, I have quite a few to send out, so I'm very grateful for that. Thank you everyone who put in your pre-orders, who bought at the book launch. Yeah, you guys mean the world to me, and I really do mean that. Makes me have a big old smile on my face. But yeah, I think we've reached the conclusion of today's episode. Bit of a longer one, but at the same time, not as long as I would have thought if we're covering bloody 6 matches here. Anyway, if y'all would like to buy any of said matches that we talked about today, I have fancy art prints of those. You can even get them framed up on christhings.com.au. So you can jump on there. You can buy whatever you'd like. I had some people ask for the Terry Funk versus Fit Finlay one. To have a print of that, and that just brought so much happiness to my heart that that match had met a warm place in other people's hearts too. Just trying to spread that Terry love, one art and one podcast at a time. All right, okay. Thanks, guys. I will see you next week. Enjoy. So good. Thanks, man.
Hey, my pleasure, dude.
That was a fun, snappy episode. That almost had a better energy than most of my podcasts where we ramble on for like an hour.
Oh, I imagine most of the time you're not talking about a single match, though.
Yeah, a lot of the time we spend a good 20 minutes just chatting about our week, so probably better content, I don't know.